Greetings, people. Just a little video on the Tommy Robinson nonsense going on. Tommy Robinson's been dragged into something called the Central Criminal Court. Now, when you think Central Criminal Court, you would probably think it's the centre of the conspiracy. It's the centre point, axis of evil, so to speak. So here in the map in front of you, you have the two concepts of London. You have London being Westminster and the townships that used to surround the City of London. And then you have the City of London itself, also known as the Square Mile, which has an interesting history, an interesting relationship to the land, and least of all, an interesting relationship to the monarch. The City of London is where the Old Bailey is, which is, I think it's on the north side up here somewhere. So the Old Bailey's in here, and that's where our good friend Tommy Robinson has been dragged.
They closed down the pubs around the Old Bailey today and sealed the streets.
So before you start getting too excited, you notice these police officers. First thing I notice is the police officers here have the City of London uniform, the red and white checkers on their hats, and they are all City of London police officers outside the Old Bailey today. Bearing in mind that we're looking at almost like a separate county, a separate jurisdiction, a city that is also a county.
One of the UK's most controversial men was in court, although he thinks it's all a sham.
This case is political.
This case, which was eventually adjourned today, is a retrial of an alleged offence committed in Leeds and comes after a high-profile...
So yeah, it's basically about his contempt of court. I mean, if you don't know about that, you don't know. But we'll go to 1 minute 15. We're going to look at what the City of London is. So this is where he is at the moment. He's in the Old Bailey. Now, why would you find yourself in the Old Bailey or the Central Criminal Court? So we've looked at the boundaries of the City of London. Now let's look at how they define themselves in their own books. So the City of London, or London, the metropolis, there we go, of the kingdom, formerly called, I think that's Angusta or Augusta, has been built above 3,000 years and flourished for 1,500 years. Its exchange, where merchants of all nations meet, is not to be unequalled exchange of merchants, where they can come and do business. And for stateliness of buildings, so that's kind of like the grandeur of the architecture, the masonry work, stuff like that. Extent of bounds, learning, arts and sciences. Terms of art being the law, the legal profession, and the sciences, which we all know, the sciences. Traffic and trade. This city gives place to none in the world. London is a county of itself, which is a very interesting. So counties, what do we know about counties? Well, I don't know if you're aware of state lines and county lines. You know, sheriffs can't go from one county to the other. There's certain jurisdictional restrictions within counties that operate counties corporate. There we are, it even says here, look, further reading, counties corporate. So it is a corporation by prescription. So think about a prescription. What do we know as laymen? When does someone give you a prescription? A doctor gives you a prescription. So that's some sort of bringing forth of a writing, and that relating to a writing, known by several names. By statute of William and Mary. So now we're looking at post-glorious revolution, and some of the lovely things that happened that empowered William and Mary to come to the throne, and the contract that was agreed upon. Enacted that the franchises of the city of Condon, which is London or Condon, I don't know if that's a misprint there, shall never hereafter be seized or forjudged. So the City of London can never be foreclosed, forjudged or seized for any forfeiture or misdemeanor whatsoever. Misdemeanor not being a felony. So the only thing that's missed out there is a felony. So it's kind of like the king will not seize, or the crown will not seize the City of London. The judgment of a writ of quo warranto against London, issued in Trinity term, that the charter of the franchises of the city should be seized into the king's hands as forfeit, was reversed by William and Mary. Yeah, there were some funny things going on about the Glorious Revolution times about taking control of the city of London. There was a weird like quo warranto is like who's right, whose warrant, whose word, who said that you could have this occupy this city state the king's challenging your ownership of it, and that's basically what one of the kings was trying to do around the time of the Glorious Revolution. But lo and behold, since William and Mary, the most important thing, came on and had a nice contract in to take up the monarchy, if you like, as a joint monarch. It's a bit weird because they were both equal monarchs. But anyway, they gained the monarchy on the contract, which was obviously set out in the Bill of Rights. I think that's what it was. Yeah, it was the Bill of Rights, wasn't it? And shortly after, more importantly, William introduced the Bank of England. And the Bank of England was a further centralisation of the monetary system, as well as the systems of law and all the other fellowships that are going on in the City of London, where all these sciences, arts and trades and merchants all come together to have a nice little meeting house, or a meeting county, I suppose you could say, a city of like-minded people interested in corporate activities, and corporations obviously all pursue profit, that being mammon for all you Bible readers. So anyway, it's a very interesting place. But anyway, so this is where Tommy Robinson's found himself, or should I say Stephen Yaxley Lennon, I think his name is. And we're now going to look at something else, which is in relation to our good friend. This is the Worshipful Company of Marketeers. So the way the City of London operates itself, it says you have like an industry, and industry gets a number once you've registered or come on board with the City of London. So you get a number. I think they're the 110th livery of companies. So these group of marketeers, who Theresa May is a member of, and she's a liveryman. Look, here they're writing an article saying, "Congratulations to our liveryman, the Prime Minister." Now, obviously, we know what you and I wouldn't know what a liveryman is. It's a term of art for a society to describe something of one of their members or one of their component parts. But we are delighted that our liveryman, Theresa May, has achieved the high office of Prime Minister, and we send our heartiest congratulations, says David Pearson, Master of the Marketeers Company. So that's the section within the guilds, or whatever they are, the worshipful companies within the City of London. She has always been a great supporter of the company, and made time from her busy schedule as Home Secretary to be a speaker at one of our formal dinners in the city in 2013. So she has a position within the City of London. And I also looked up the word liveryman. Maybe I changed it. But I think I went to this. I looked at liveryman in the little book that I've got there. It didn't really reveal much. But if we go here. So, livery, household allowance of any kind. Food, provisions, clothing, to retainers or servants. So the City of London is acknowledging their servant, their liveryman, their person for whom they provide for, as well done. You have now attained the high office of Prime Minister. Excellent. But remember who your allegiance lies to. Which is a very interesting thing. Now, where does this all come back to? So now we can look at how these Central Criminal Court operates from its central office being, or its hub, the Central Criminal Court. And we can then go on to look at things like this which I mentioned earlier about the police force of the City of London being slightly different from the Metropolitan Police. And the City of London Police have a different logo, different insignia. So they have this this Latin phrase. I think it's Lord. I think it's guide us or direct us, and it's flanked by two dragons. Now, obviously, when you say Lord direct us, you're not actually defining what Lord or whose Lord, or Lord is a title, so some sort of title is directing us. But who owns that title? Who knows? But so it means Lord guide us, motto of the City of London, which is what all of these lovely police officers have. Hang on, I've gone past it. But these are all these police officers here. They have two here as well. They have the Crown one, the more traditional one. But that's also shown with the one that I've just given you an image of, the one flanked by the dragons. So Sky have got an exclusive scoop. This reporter is a bit of an interesting character, but we're going to just digress his words and how he's approaching Tommy Robinson in relation to him being taken to the Central Criminal Court. And now Sky are obviously going to give their opinions through their reporter about what's going on here. So we're going to look at the law versus the morality. And if you remember from my Serena Williams video that I did. Serena Williams video, I very much looked at the differences between secular law, orderly and disorderly conduct versus the morality issues of good versus evil acts. Yeah, because they're two very different things. A secular government doesn't operate on a religious level. It operates on, did you do something wrong according to essentially a scripture, a writing, a code. That's the orderly behaviours versus the disorderly behaviours, and within that, good and bad will fall because it will be defined in legislation. But essentially, Tommy Robinson here touches on a morality aspect of what's right and wrong, which is surprising to this journalist.
I believe that we should have education system going on across this.
Believe in the legal system.
You don't believe in the legal system. You see how he's kind of this. I don't. Just repeat that. The journalist is like breathing heavily, twitchy. I don't know if he's on something here.
I believe that we should have
big breath in,
system going on across this.
Believe in the legal system.
and then a big breath out, like almost like a gurn, and he's fidgety. I don't know if he's on drugs here or he's had a drink, but he's.
We should have education system going on across this.
Believe in the legal system. Believe in the right of fair trial.
Yes, and
Do you not believe in the legal system? Well, I don't believe in the legal system because the legal system has nothing to do with the common man. So this is how I would look at this: is that you have Tommy Robinson, just Joe Blogg's idiot on the street, public, right? People. He is a creed of people, a caste of people, whatever you want to do. He is of the people of England. And then here on the left, you have the corporate guy going, do you not believe in the legal system? Now, the legal system runs parallel with the law, but it isn't in its own right, that it isn't the law itself. It's an interpretation of the law, codified, legislated, made legal.
Believe in the legal system. Believe in the right of fair trial.
Well, the right to a fair trial has got nothing to do with the legal system. I mean, any trial. I mean, a tennis court match, is that a legal tennis court match? It's got nothing to do with legality. If I have a game of tiddlywinks, is it not proper to have a fair game of tiddlywinks? What's this whole? Where does the concept of a fair trial have anything to do with a legally defined procedure? It's just that's more morality now. That's coming into. You can't have. What is the point in Mike Tyson fighting someone in a wheelchair? Is that a fair fight? No. Is that you could probably legally make it a fair fight because you could just change the rules, but no one would watch it. No one would accept it as a fair fight. It would be innate within you that that's a disgraceful thing to see. So for this man to make the comparison that a legal fair trial, which is pretty much exactly what the legal society tries to avoid, as a fair fight, because they'll never win. But anyway, let's go back again. Just listen very carefully to this Sky presenter.
Court because he
this is essentially less about Tommy Robinson and more about the forces around him.
objected to the men being given bail.
I believe that
See here, they put up the former leader of the English Defence League, but I mean, how long has he tried to disfranchise himself or disassociate himself with the English Defence League? And they're still bringing up, like, this is Tommy Robinson. He's the former leader of the English Defence League. That's like I was the former leader of the Cubs, the Boy Scouts portrayed, and then they're going to say, they're going to bring up your ancient history. It's like, yeah, okay, I joined it. I changed my mind. I no longer believe in it. I mean, he's trying to join the UKIP at the moment. But now let's bring up the former Defence League association here in 2018, and God knows when the Defence League he left that.
Warned is forearmed. I believe that we should have education system going on across this.
Believe in the legal system.
Look at that. Do you not believe in the legal system?
Believe in the right of fair trial.
Do you not believe that's two separate questions?
Yes, and those men had.
Of course he believes in a right fair trial. Who on this planet would not believe in a right fair trial? But if you create a legal environment, then you can have it orchestrated in such a way that it's not necessarily as even as you might wish it to be.
Right to a fair trial. Nothing I said could have prejudiced that trial. I'll be straight honest with you.
There's an interesting bit of editing then. I'm always worried about editing with these kind of main media people. It's like, they're going from one segue
right to a fair trial. Nothing I said could have prejudiced that trial. I'll be.
And then boom, straight, he's gone from a totally different position with his hand up talking about something. So there's obviously some editing shenanigans going on here, which you always have to be mindful of when you're watching these broadcasts.
Yes, and those men had a right to a fair trial. Nothing I said could have prejudiced that trial. I'll be straight honest with you. If I believe I'm morally right, then I'm not bothered about what your law says. I know.
Can I just say, Tommy Robinson's just said a fantastic. He probably doesn't even realise how amazing that is. And some of these things actually come when you're speaking from the heart quite a lot. A lot of these things come out. I don't care what your law says. If I believe it's right, if I morally believe it's right, you can stick your law up your arse. Now, essentially, again, this is a reference to the legal society, these central criminal courts, is codification of government codes and policies that are designed, in theory, to prevent the corruption of the times. But what happens if the common law is helping or assisting the corruption of the times? Then its function has become broken. And you may say, I don't care what your law says. I don't care if you say it's okay to kill someone if X, Y, and Z is met. I don't care if you're allowed to extort someone out of their property if X, Y, and Z is met. I don't care that you believe you can take children away from their parents, using their terminology, if X, Y, and Z is met. I don't care that you try and get neighbours and teachers and hospital staff to snitch on their patients because X, Y, and Z is ingrained into their duties and they're told to do it. I don't care about your written things. If there's a moral reason why I shouldn't do it, i.e. if there's a moral reason, which would be coming back to the actual law, the law of like thou shalt not steal, because stealing is a massive wrong. Killing is a massive wrong. Telling lies and extorting people and breaking your word, all that stuff is a moral wrong, because you're degrading your character, your persona, your actual true being is being degraded. And once you've lost your word, you've lost your name, you're a nobody. No one will ever touch you ever again for business or anything. Why would they? Once a liar, always a liar.
That I know.
Really?
In that,
So-
then I'm not. I said could have prejudiced that.
So you say here, nothing could have prejudiced the trial.
Well, I'll be straight honest with you. If I believe I'm morally right, then I'm not bothered about what your law says.
And this is such an important point, because the Sky reporter just jumps on this like, oh my God, you've just cussed the legal law. You can't say that our legal codes and our laws are just, I don't care what they say.
I know that I know.
Really?
In that
So you're not bothered about the law?
in that sense.
See, the law. What is the law? There is no the law. Law is a combination of many things, all working together, especially the English common law system. There's at least three elements to it. There's the Bible, there's the codification, and there's customs and cultures of the population, the law of the land. So this is where, the law, what is the law? There is no such thing as the law. There's different elements to it that make up its component parts. So yeah, if the law if the written law or some facet of the law has become corrupted, then I don't care about your law, because morality then takes over. Because you can put up with some stuff, but sometimes you just can't put up with the nonsense. And I don't care what you say is wrong. I'm going to do what I believe is right and proper.
In
So
that,
you're above the law?
no, in that sense.
And then he's turned that to say that you're above the law. You're not above the law. And this is where, again, if you come back to my Serena Williams video, where you have the good, the bad, the law, the kind of like the law, the orderly conduct and the chaotic conduct. So in a secular government point of view, they cannot deal with morality. They do not deal with religious concepts. That's why they removed it from the operation of government. We don't care about people's belief system. Right? You can believe whatever you like. Whenever we start messing with belief systems, wars, civil wars, revolutions, nonsense starts, disagreements start happening. So the government is going to be removed from that and be secular. We're going to have codes. We're going to follow it. We're going to let you people just get on with your daily lives, believe in, Santa Claus, whatever you want to believe in, just believe in it. And Tommy Robinson's jumped on something here. He's like, look, if I believe something is wrong, I'm gonna almost like vote that way. And where does the voting come from? The jury side of it. This is why jury trial is so powerful, because if you get 12 people who can see the laws written down, see that they've done is wrong, acknowledge that that's wrong, but innately they can nullify the bullshit by saying, I don't care that he did this, I don't care that he did that, I don't care that you've written him down, that it's wrong, I don't care that you've legislated it through Parliament and all this nonsense, I don't care all about that stuff. Clearly, this guy was acting in his best interest of himself and his family, his property, his community, his people, whatever you want to say. And as a 12-man jury or a 25-man grand jury, you say, look, fantastic statutes there, Mr. Government, but you know what, we were going to side with Tommy Robinson on this. We actually believe, yeah, he is acting from a moral position that we're going to uphold, and we're going to just say, yeah, he did all that wrong, so what? Clear off.
If you're morally
In that
right,
sense,
you're above the law?
no.
So yeah, if you're morally right, you're above the law. Not necessarily. If you can prove your moral argument to a jury of 12 like-minded Joe Bloggs people, public, right? If you can convince them of your point of law, is that, yeah, okay, I'm sorry, I crossed all these lines that are predefined by some statutory body, but, you know, look within yourself and say, look, did I really do anything wrong? Was there any harm? Was there any loss? Was there any injury? You know, did I steal? Did I do all the things that we're not allowed to do? You know, no. So I broke a law of a man, of a private individual, of a corporate entity. I broke some sort of legislative code, some sort of statute. What, you know, and then hopefully you get a jury that will see eye to eye with you, or you might get a jury that doesn't believe that at all, thinks you're Tommy Robinson, you're a crazy bastard of still prancing around the English Defence League, as Sky seems to be interpreting it here. But that's essentially the power of the jury that we have, and I guarantee you, Tommy Robinson's not gone anywhere near a jury.
Another young girl would have been raped in that shop. Yeah? If another young girl would have been raped in that shop. So what I wanted to do, and all I wanted to do, was get a video of the men's faces, and I knew it would have gone viral. And then I've gone to their shop already. I've already been to their shop. And then I want every single child and parent that lives within that vicinity to know what those men are alleged to have done.
Right, now he's gone all the way, he's gone 180. So he's gone from the morality of something to being prejudice. He's basically talking about taking people's pictures, posting it around the area, and warning everyone about them. Now, you can warn people about it, but the problem is, you know, unless there's a trial, unless, you know, instead of going around and almost like defaming people, what some people might say is slander, or what's it? Is it slander and libelous actions, defamation? Instead of going around and doing that before a trial, it's ideal that everyone is innocent until proven guilty. So until you prove them guilty in a court of law, you shouldn't really be going around telling people rumours, and it's all hearsay, rumours and nonsense until you get it in front of the judiciary and get a judgment against them, prove your case. Then you can splatter that stuff all around, and you'll be doing it in a lawful manner, saying, be careful of those guys. Okay, they might be in prison for, you know, in theory they'd go to prison if they've broken the peace in such a way of, you know, doing whatever's to underage boys and girls or whoever. But essentially, there's the way that the law does it. They are innocent until proven guilty. You can't defame these people until you've done the due process of law. And this is where now Tommy Robinson's gone from hitting the nail on the head to the second swipe just completely missing the nail altogether. And he's acting in a proper way, improper interpretation of how the law works.
The court says, right, we can't charge these guys now because because you've influenced the jury.
No,
do you not understand influencing the jury?
Yes.
Oh, I do not understand influencing the jury. Oh, is that a legal thing? No, that's not legal. That's law. Jury predates legal. This is a rather confrontational, hostile interview, but it goes on.
He believes their holy text, the Quran, is designed to incite violence and create extremists.
You've read the Quran?
I have read the Quran. Only the English version.
And what did you think? What did you
I
think?
don't speak it.
What did you think?
What did you?
See there? Remember, solicitors and legal peoples, and in this case, this journalist have done a clever thing. He probably missed it there, but we'll go back just 5 seconds and just watch what the journalist does.
Only the English version.
And what did you think?
I don't speak it.
What did you think?
What do you think?
Boom, misdirection and deviation. Yeah, you know, when someone answers, when Tommy Robinson says, "So, what do you think of the Quran?" He goes, "Well, what did you think?" You know what I mean? He's turned it around. He diverted the attention from himself as the interviewer, and he's put it back onto Tommy Robinson.
Well, there's 109 verses in that book that incite war and murder against non-Muslims, so I thought pretty.
Well, Jesus said, "I have not come to bring peace, but a sword." So, yeah. So, is he responsible for knife crime in London?
If they were holding up that exact verse, if every single knife criminal was holding up that verse saying Jesus told me to kill him, so I killed him, I'd be saying yes, that verse is responsible.
Do you not think they've got a warped idea? I mean, we don't see Christians running around with swords. No. Do you not think they have a warped idea of what the Quran is actually preaching?
After reading the Quran and understanding abrogation and understanding that what Muhammad says later in his life supersedes what he says earlier, after understanding all of that, now I believe that they are following out literal.
Then I would say to you that you've been radicalised.
Would you?
Yeah, I'd say that you're following the same understanding of Islam as the people who listen to Omar Bakri, who listen to Abu Hamza.
No, not just.
If you really believe that.
What about the 60%?
Oh, okay, we'll just leave that because Tommy's little brain didn't quite take it in what was just said to him, and he deviates to some statistic, which seems to be awfully popular nowadays, to just rattle off some sort of statistic. But that was quite interesting. So let's look at this from the beginning of that little clip. Is that he said something about Jesus said something about the sword. So I was like, now I haven't spoilt this for myself. I thought, you know what, I want to just live reaction this. So let's say, because it kind of caught me aback when he said, Jesus said, I do not come. Don't suppose that I come to bring peace to the earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. Now, whenever there's Bible quotes chucked out there, you always got to read. You got to be careful, man, because you got to always look at the context and the whole piece that was written. So I thought, hey, let's do a live reaction. I don't want to spoil this for me or for you, so let's have a little look. These are the sword quotes in Matthew that apparently said by which are in the New Testament. They did. So anyway, this is the one that he's quoting here. Do you not suppose I've come to bring peace to the earth? I did not come to bring peace, but a sword. Now let's have a little read. So I always like to go 30 forwards down the bottom. So we'll go around here a few chapters. So whoever acknowledges me before others will also acknowledge me before the Father in heaven. But whoever disowns me before others, I will disown them before the Father in heaven. Do you not suppose that I have come to bring peace onto the earth? I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to turn a man against his father, a daughter against his... No, it's Matthew, isn't it? Yeah. A daughter against his mother, a daughter-in-law against a mother-in-law, and a man's enemies will be the members of his own household. Anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. Whoever does not take up the cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. Anyone who welcomes you welcomes me, and anyone who welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. Whoever welcomes a prophet as a prophet will receive a prophet's reward, and whoever welcomes a righteous person as a righteous person will receive a righteous person's reward. And if anyone gives even a cup of cold water to one of these little ones who is my disciple, truly I tell you, that person will certainly not lose their reward. He was speaking in a metaphorical sense. I'm not really seeing where the Sky Report is saying I've come to bring the sword. It's not really in context of using it in any violent way. He's talking about it's devotion. It's kind of like a devotion, if you like. Don't think that not giving a homeless person food and water, or walking past them and ignoring them, would mean that you're walking past these people and ignoring their suffering. That doesn't, how does that then, when you come to heaven, then they'll ignore your thirst, ignore your hunger, ignore your suffering. That's essentially what that context is kind of like doing. It's like, you got to look out for your faith, maybe. Don't lose faith. So anyway, I'd probably recommend reading all of Matthew 10 to get that in context. But yeah, so in the context that he's described it, it's more about your behaviour on a daily basis. It's not about bringing a sword. The sword is the punishment. If you do not focus your faith on the good things and do good when good is supposed to, when you have the opportunity to do it, as opposed to ignoring it or turning a blind eye or putting others or other things, material things, particularly earthly things, before the one that put you on this planet in the first place, in a scriptural sense. So yeah, okay, I'm sorry I had to Bible bash a bit about that, but hey, the secular government Sky legal worshipping presenter decided to chuck that out there. And then on the flip side, he's talking to Tommy Robinson about, don't you believe you've been radicalised? And I found that interesting because obviously Tommy Robinson wasn't born a Muslim. He presumably isn't a Muslim. Just going to make some assumptions here, presumptions. He's not a Muslim. He wasn't born a Muslim. He might be Jewish. He might be Catholic. He might be Protestant. Who knows? Yeah, but I'd probably say he's not Muslim. So for this Sky reporter to say you've been radicalised by reading the Quran, so the act of reading the Quran was enough to radicalise Tommy Robinson and put him on the same kind of playing field as some of the people who are on the more extreme fringes of Muslim and he quotes people like, was it Abu Hamza or some, I don't know, these funny hate preachers out there, which are obviously preaching a certain doctrine, which may be more harmful than we might like it to be. So that's interesting, and Tommy Robinson doesn't really realise what he's just said. The reporter just says he's just confirmed his own thing, that you read the Quran and now you've been radicalised, because you've got to presume that Tommy Robinson hasn't been to mosques and stuff like that doing Friday worship. He hasn't been to Abu Hamza's teachings, or whatever you call them, meetings. So in Tommy Robinson's case, he read the Quran probably out of personal interest and knowing what the hell this is all about. And now the Sky News reporter says, well, clearly that was enough to make you radicalised because you believe in this extreme ideology, and all you've done is read the Quran in English, which is interesting. And Tommy Robinson didn't really know how to react to that, but it kind of proves Tommy Robinson's point that, shit, as a white man, probably a non-Muslim, I read the Quran and I see this intent, if you like, and all I did was read it. And the Sky reporter is saying, well, you've radicalised yourself. I just thought, shit, that was interesting. Well, so just by reading the Quran, the Sky report is saying you've become some sort of radicalised individual.
What did you think?
What did you think?
What did you think?
What do you think?
Well, there's 109 verses in that book that incite war and murder against non-Muslims, so I thought pretty.
Well, Jesus said, "I've not come to bring peace, but a sword." So so is he responsible for knife crime in London?
If they were holding up that exact verse, if every single knife criminal was holding up that verse saying Jesus told me to kill him, so I killed him, I'd be saying yes, that verse is responsible.
Do you not think they've got a warped idea? I mean, we don't see Christians running around with swords. No. Do you not think they have a warped idea of what the Quran is actually preaching?
After reading the Quran and understanding abrogation and understanding that what Muhammad says later in his life supersedes what he says earlier, after understanding all of that, now I believe that they are following out literal.
Then I would say to you that you've been radicalised.
Would you?
Yeah, I'd say that you're following the same understanding of Islam as the people who listen to Omar Bakri, who listen to Abu Hamza.
No, not just.
If you really believe that.
What about the 66% of people who would not report on a terrorist? Would you say they've been radicalised?
No, I'd say you've been radicalised because you believe in the same things as the followers of Abu Hamza.
So because
you and your supporters, you're the only people who believe, would take that literally, take the idea of not come in peace but bring a sword. Oh well, I better get a sword out.
No, that's because I understand Islam.
You're not a theologian. You don't understand it.
I do understand.
You're not a theologian. You don't understand Islam. So let's put that in context. So you're not a rabbi. You don't understand the Torah, or you're not a priest, a vicar, a bishop, an archbishop, a pope. You do not understand the Bible. You're not a imam. Is it imams? You're not an imam. You couldn't possibly hope to understand the Quran. There we are, the Quran. So you're not an imam. You couldn't possibly hope to understand the Quran. So on that basis, the Sky reporter says none of you people are qualified or competent enough to read these religious books, let alone interpret them in such a way, which is probably a fair point.
I've been invited to come on Sky News.
Ahead of our interview, Tommy Robinson told his thousands of supporters he's suspicious of our invitation.
What I think they'll do is they'll dig up things I said 10 years ago. They'll say you joined the BNP when you were 20 years old.
Well, we've already established that they've introduced Tommy Robinson as the former leader of the English Defence League. So he got that right, but also what he didn't anticipate is that they would look at his social media beforehand, so that they could adjust their interview techniques to get you off your balance, or get you off your pedestal when you go in. So here they're actually broadcasting the fact that a big company like Sky News is actually on your Twitter account, on your Instagram, whatever, looking at what you're going to plan to do and what your views are before they've even got you into this meeting, which is interesting. So bear that in mind, people. This is very much when you're publicising your private affairs, your private thoughts on the internet. They're up there for all to view, good or bad.
He's wrong. There's no need to drag up controversy from his past.
There's no need to drag up controversy. Right, okay, but introduce him as the English Defence League former leader.
Only last year, directly after the Finsbury Park mosque attack, in which Darren Mosque, where the attack happened.
So this now he's bringing up other tweets. So he is bringing up his past. So he's now relating the white guy who crashed a van into a load of worshippers outside of a mosque. He's now going to bring that up from his social media tweets.
Tonight has a long history of creating terrorists and radical jihadists and promoting hate and segregation.
You sound like, rather than saying, I absolutely outright condemn it,
No.
you're saying,
no.
oh, look, here's all these reasons why that was maybe okay.
Did you, as Sky News, cover the fact that tens of thousands of Muslims were marching with terrorist flags through our capital city on that day, or did you not? Do you not think it's news?
Are you? It's saying again? Seems to sound like you're kind of trying to justify
I'm gonna
what he was doing.
I'm gonna
There was a
ask you-
march.
no,
There was a march.
There was a terrorist march, and Darren Osborne tells everyone quite
Well,
clearly
how can you
why
say
he
it's a
done it.
terrorist march?
Because they were
Yeah,
He
but
was the
marching with-
terrorist that day.
They were marching with terrorist banners, terrorist flags through the capital,
Darren-
shouting "Bomb,
Darren
bomb,
Osborne
bomb the Jews."
was the.
Pop the Jews. Oh my word! Oh, this is a good bit. Oh my word! A nice way to finish off with. Let's bring all this Tommy Robinson nonsense interview into some sort of general global context. And this is a peach of a statement.
I'm not going to stop saying it, or stop educating, or stop telling the truth about it.
Tommy, quick picture for me and Big Rob.
Hero to some, villain to others. There's no doubt Tommy Robinson has become a public figure. He confirmed he wants to join UKIP, and the man who helped Donald Trump into the White House, Steve Bannon, has called Robinson the backbone of Britain.
Would you take funds from Steve Bannon? He's a very wealthy man.
Steve Bannon has not offered me funds, so it's a ridiculous
He's
question.
not. Well, it's not. He might offer you funds. He's a big fan, obviously.
To be honest, I don't think I need funds. The work I want to do next is to reach out to the victims and families of these grooming scandals.
Isn't that funny? Let's bring it back to Steve Bannon. And we all know who Steve Bannon is. He's the guy who got Trump into the White House, which is what the Sky News presenter has somehow made an interesting kind of joining the dots to make Tommy Robinson and his, I don't know if you call it political views, but anyway, his stance on his beliefs in society. And he's brought it all around to Steve Bannon and back into Trump again. So just to get a little snide in any kind of angle that he can bring it back to Tommy Robinson, Trump, Steve Bannon, because Steve Bannon said Tommy Robinson's obviously expressing a view, which is what a back. I've never heard that with Steve Bannon. I don't know much about him, but I just thought, well, that's an interesting way to bring a bit of Trump bashing into the argument. But look at how Tommy Robinson reacts here. He's almost like, wow, that question's a bit out of left field.
Steve Bannon. He's a very wealthy man.
Steve Bannon is...
He's almost like Steve fucking what? He always swore there. Like, what the hell are you talking about Steve Bannon? Well, Steve Bannon got to do what Tommy Robinson's trying to promote in relation to educating people about, protecting your kids from overly testosterone-filled grooming gangs.
He's not offered me funds, so it's a...
But there we go. So that's my two bit. Anyway, so Tommy Robinson's finding himself in all kinds of hot pickles, and I think in a way the state don't really know what to do with him. These criminal courts are going to try and get him in. They're going to try and do something with him because obviously he's in there with all the legal people, so they've got him under their little spell. So as to what they decide to do with him in relation to this contempt of court thing, I don't know. I think they're probably trying to work something out because obviously it's high profile. They have to kind of behave properly, and they're going to have to find some sort of thing that he's done that means that they can, something written down that convinces other people, talk about the Bible and the Quran radicalizing people. What about all the people reading these these legal texts and taking them down as gospel laws? These man-made laws. People read them. Police officers read them. Parking attendants read them. Doctors, lawyers, every facet of society reads their codices about how they should and shouldn't operate in the public, especially like police, for example. Under Section 22 of the 1958 something or other Act, I've got to issue you this fine or this warrant or this blah blah blah. It's like, that's just that's still a religious fanatic. It's just someone based in a codified world of legislative laws. Yeah, there's no different. Yeah. So just pick your book and pick wisely. But anyway, I digress. It's an interesting thing. No doubt he's going to get shafted in some sort of fashion. But yeah, being in the Central Criminal Court, bringing the ire of the City of London upon him is not obviously going to do him any favours. And yeah, watch this space. The pantomime that is surrounding Tommy Robinson.